So I had a little bit of a change of plan. I decided that with the motor on, why not just see if it runs or cranks over? It's probably a good idea. It's easy enough to do. And besides, I think my son wanted to help power wash the boat. He loves power washing. So we'll let him take care of part of that. So built the engine stand, or the engine stand's all done. Let's see if we can get this to run. So I got my battery charged. We'll get them going. Well, that's all done. We'll get the top off. What I think I'm going to do is I'll pull the plugs and kind of go from there and make sure that this thing even turns over by hand and see if then it cranks over, and then try to diagnose whatever I can from at that point. So let's get to it. Coming out pretty easy. Let's take a look. Not rusty. I guess that's a good sign. Not easy. Well, turns over by hand easy. Let's see what happens. Probably should use better gas, oil, but whatever. I just want to see if it even starts. Does anything. Probably won't. No. Okay. See what happens.
5 minutes later.
I'll be breaking of it. So if we look in here, the fuel filter. I definitely saw some fuel in there, but I'm going to spray some up into it and see what happens. Or to pop.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Runs. We got a runner. I'll take it. So it looks like it runs. I don't know how long, but it does run. All right, here we go. Next step. Basically from here, it's just a matter of removing the fuel hoses, what I start off with. And then from the fuel hoses, I start off with some of the wiring that just is connected up into the control or the center console. And notice that some of these wires are just dangling. They are not connected to anything. I believe they're probably for gauges, but I don't know. I won't know until I get this all hooked back up. But in any case, so start with the fuel hoses, they come apart, then the wiring, and eventually from the wiring, I make my way down to the steering shaft, and that's pretty much about it. So that's what you're watching here. It's just a matter of me pulling some of these connectors apart, and that's really about it. I don't know if you can see that mess right there. Here, just moving over onto the other side of the motor and removing all the throttle and shift assembly right here. Relatively straightforward. Basically just two nuts holding it on to that lever. I don't know what it's called. And then there's just two clamps that hold in each cable, and then that just pops right off. Here what you're taking a look at is moving the steering shaft, I guess it's called, or part of the steering system, and it was pretty seized up when I got it. I did get it to move a little bit, and essentially what I had to do is once I removed that retaining nut, which ended up coming off in two pieces, it was cracked, so whoever monkeyed it on there really did a good number on it. Got it off, and then it was a matter of using extension for a ratchet and just kind of bang it through. You can see here, just getting the steering wheel back into the other direction so that now I can try to pull this whole assembly out. It was, of taking this stuff apart, it was the worst part of it, but eventually it did come out and it really wasn't so bad. They sell like a threaded nut, retaining nut, that also has a Zerk fitting in it to grease up the whole assembly, so that's probably what I'll end up replacing the broken one with. And almost there. Tappity tap, and pretty much I think this is it, and it will come out in a moment. Now on to building the stand. I basically went online and I looked at a couple of different designs, and they essentially are just two legs with some boards going across to hold the outboard. My concern was that this motor weighs, I believe, around 300 to 400 pounds, so let's say 350 pounds. Like, how well will it hold up on a stand? And, well, I figured I'd take my chances. It's going to be on the engine hoist anyway, and once it's on the engine hoist, I can slowly let it down. That's it. I built this engine stand, outboard stand, for free. I had gotten these boards from someone who was tossing away a deck. I've been using them for various little projects around the house, so I figured the 4x4s with the 2x material would definitely make a good stand. And even the screws I got from a project that I pulled apart and kept the screws. So I spent nothing on this thing, and I guess it worked. Well, we'll see. It works. Motor's on there now, and no problems. It's pretty sturdy. I measured it to be about 36 inches off the ground. I measured from the, I guess, the bottom of the motor, the skeg, I guess that's what it's called, to the mounting point, and it was a little under 36 inches.
So I just went a little bit over. I just wanted to keep it as low as the ground as possible so that there was less chance of this thing tipping. But for the most part, relatively straightforward. Added some braces here to prevent any rocking back and forth. And that's it. So as we continue on, see, it's able to hold me up, which I'm about 180 pounds or 90 pounds, maybe 200 from the way I look in some of these pictures. I don't really know, but it did hold me up. And just getting a little bit more material to basically come down a little bit more so I can capture the 4 different bolt holes.
Helping, buddy? You want to start cranking up?
Yeah.
Is it going up?
Oh, like that?
No, watch. See how it's not going? So you come over here, turn that, and now,
Okay.
okay, keep going.
Is it recording?
Yep. You got to, remember like I showed you got to turn that little knob at the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, turn that.
Left?
Yeah, do it away. Yeah, just now start pumping it.
So I got the engine hoist and my son helping me here, and we're going to pump this up. If you look on top of the motor, the Johnson uses a 3-bolt, I guess, configuration for the lift ring. I'm going to make a video on how I made that, because looking around online, they were like anywhere from 40 to like 60 bucks, sometimes 100 bucks for these lift rings, and there was no way I was spending that money on that. So quick trip to the hardware store and some tape, and that was it. It was basically done. Super easy to make, and it does work. So like I said, I'll make a video on that coming up probably soon after this one. But once we get it up, we hook it up to the top, and we use it just enough to make sure that it does hold a little bit and get everything positioned in. And once we got a little bit of weight on this, we know it's going, it's off to removing some bolts.
All right. See, this is the bolt right here.
Uh-huh.
All right.
I see it.
Hold on to that. Oh, a second. Yep. Stop. Okay. When I say stop, you have to let go.
You didn't stop.
I said stop a bunch of times. Okay.
didn't
Pull it.
All right, once we get that first bolt out, it's just a matter of going around and getting the 3 other bolts. 2 on the top were relatively easy to get to, and even the 2 lower ones weren't too bad. I could reach them where the battery box is and get those loosened up. Essentially, once we got the 3 out, there was 1 remainder holding it in, and we just kind of slowly backed that one out and then made sure that their weight was on the engine hoist. And once it was there, this motor came off relatively easy. So you'll see that in about a minute or so.
All right. Hold on.
You want me to keep holding the jack?
Yeah, just stay there. All right, watch out, Mikey. Only because I got that nut off now. All right. I'm going to swing it. There you go. All right, go up a little bit. Good, that's it. All right, now. Oh. Hold on. All right.
And once I got it over to the stand, I realized that it was a little bit of an angle, so it was going to be a little bit difficult to do. So I tried a couple of things, so like chopping up the motor and dropping it down, and to drop it down on an angle, and it didn't really work. So eventually, I decided just to pick the stand up and have my son mark it with the bolt holes with a Sharpie, so that we could drill them in. Also, the bottom cross member of the stand was in the way of the wheels, so that again I had to fix. There's a couple of things I didn't really think about before I made this. Like I said, I just kind of whipped it together real quick, but it did work. So you can see here how once I get that first bolt in super tight, I'm pretty much good to go, and then come in and just mark the other holes, and the motor is on the stand before you know it. Relatively straightforward, easy to do. I used the same bolts that held it to the transom of the boat to also hold it to the stand. Then it's a matter of just getting the stand where I want it, putting in the last of the 2 bolts at the bottom, getting everything tightened up so that I know it's good to go, lowering it down, pulling off the plate, and we are in our final position. So that is it, everybody. That's the pulling of the outboard motor, well, getting it to run, disconnecting, pulling the motor, and setting it up on an engine stand. And that is pretty much it for this video. Remember to like and subscribe. It helps me out, and to make these videos so that you can see more of the Hourglass build. Otherwise, that's it. Have a great day. Bye.